Council's mockery, the grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched like a cathedral of steel and crystal, its vaulted ceiling lost in shadows. Thousands of representatives from across the known galaxy filled the amphitheater seats, their varied forms creating a tapestry of scales, feathers, chitin, and skin in colors no human eye had witnessed in centuries. Today's session had devolved into something unexpected, a celebration of extinction. Admiral Drexen rose from his seat, his massive reptilian frame casting long shadows across the chamber floor. His emerald scales caught the light from 1,000 holographic displays, each one showing the same data: empty colonies, silent trade routes, abandoned orbital stations. Earth's sector of space had gone dark 300 years ago, and every survey since had confirmed the same conclusion. Behold, Drexen's voice boomed through the chamber, his tongue flicking with satisfaction. The final proof that the humans were nothing but a brief, chaotic spark in our galaxy's long history. Their worlds lie empty. Their ships drift as monuments to their own violence. They destroyed themselves, as we always knew they would. Laughter rippled through the assembled delegates. A mantis-like diplomat clicked her mandibles in amusement. A crystalline being's form shimmered with what might have been mirth. Even the normally stoic representatives from the Silicon collectives seemed to pulse with something resembling satisfaction. But in the upper galleries, where the scholars and historians observed, one voice did not join the chorus. Vena, her ancient form wrapped in robes that had witnessed 4 centuries of galactic history, kept her eyes fixed on the data streams. Her species had learned long ago that silence often carried more weight than noise. "You celebrate too loudly," she said, her voice cutting through the laughter like a blade through silk. The chamber didn't immediately quiet, but those nearest her turned to listen. "I have studied the rise and fall of 47 civilizations." The humans were unique. They did not simply vanish. They withdrew. Drexen's laugh was cruel. Withdrew? They fled like cowards from their own mistakes. Their wars poisoned their homeworld. Their greed shattered their colonies. "There is no mystery here, old one, only failure." "Perhaps," Vena conceded, her eyes never leaving the screens. "But consider this. Their colonies were not destroyed. They were emptied, deliberately, methodically, and in the past year, traders have reported anomalies." "Anomalies?" Another council member scoffed. "Ghost stories told by smugglers to explain their own incompetence." But Vena had been collecting these reports. Strange signals in dead space, ships vanishing near former human territories. A pirate fleet found destroyed by weapons that matched no known design. And most disturbing, 3 weeks ago, a mining vessel had transmitted a final message before disappearing. The crew had been screaming about a shadow, a massive presence that moved through space like a predator. Drexen waved a clawed hand dismissively. "The galaxy is safer without them. Let the humans remain a cautionary tale. Let young species see what happens when arrogance exceeds wisdom." His words drew approving murmurs from many delegates. Vena gathered her robes and prepared to leave. She had said her piece, offered her warning. Whether they heeded it was beyond her control. As she walked through the towering doors of the chamber, she paused to look back at the celebration, at the screens showing Earth's silent sector. The laughter continued. But Vena had lived long enough to recognize the sound of civilization's tempting fate. She had heard it before, just before empires fell. Somewhere in the black void beyond the Council's reach, in spaces marked as dead on every map, something was stirring. Vena could feel it in her bones, that ancient instinct that had kept her species alive through countless dangers. The humans had not died. They had been waiting, and waiting, she knew, often preceded hunting. Forbidden signals, the hidden station floated in the nebula's embrace, its dark hull invisible against the swirling clouds of cosmic dust. For 2 centuries, Station Erebus had been humanity's secret heart, buried so deep in uncharted space that even the most advanced scanners read it as nothing more than a dense pocket of ionized gas. Lieutenant Kira Valdez stood in the observation deck, her reflection ghost-like against the viewport. Behind her, she heard the soft footsteps she'd come to recognize anywhere. Dr. Marcus Webb approached, carrying 2 cups of something that almost passed for coffee. "Couldn't sleep either?" Marcus asked, handing her the warm cup. His fingers brushed hers, a touch that lingered just a moment longer than necessary. "The awakening begins in 6 hours," Kira said softly. "After tonight, everything changes. We stop hiding." Marcus moved beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. They'd worked together for 3 years, their professional relationship slowly transforming into something neither had dared to name. In a civilization rebuilding from ashes, personal connections felt both precious and fragile. "Are you afraid?" he asked. Kira considered the question. "No." Excited. Angry. Hopeful. "We've been silent for so long, Marcus. My grandmother died never seeing the stars openly. My parents trained me in secret, teaching me about a heritage the galaxy thought extinct." She turned to face him. "But afraid? No. We're ready." Marcus set down his cup and took her hand. "When this is over, when we've shown them we survived, I want us to have a real chance. Not stolen moments in empty corridors. A life." Kira's breath caught. "Marcus, I know the timing is terrible," he said quickly. "But if not now, when? We're about to step back into a galaxy that tried to forget us. I don't want to forget what matters." He cupped her face gently. "You matter." She closed the distance. Between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that tasted of hope and desperation and 3 years of unspoken feelings. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. "After," she whispered. "After we show them what humanity became. Then we build our future." 3 sectors away, pilot Nexor guided his scout ship through a routine patrol. The young pilot had drawn the unenviable assignment of monitoring the dead zones, those regions of space where nothing lived and nothing ever happened. His superiors considered it punishment duty, but Nexor didn't mind. The silence was peaceful, until it wasn't. His console erupted with alerts. A signal, strong and clear, pulsing through frequencies that hadn't been used in 3 centuries. Nexor's training kicked in immediately. He recorded everything, his hands trembling as he recognized the pattern. Human. Unmistakably human. He opened a priority channel to the Council. "This is Scout Vessel Talon 9 reporting emergency contact. I've detected active transmissions from Sector 07. The frequency matches archived human communications protocols. Repeat, human signals detected. They're everywhere. Multiple sources. It's not just one ship, it's..." The response came quickly, but not with the urgency he expected. "Talon 9, you are reading ghost echoes. That sector has been dead for centuries. Recalibrate your sensors and continue patrol." "But sir, I have confirmation. The signals are strengthening. There are dozens of them now, maybe hundreds." "Enough, pilot." The voice was cold. "The Council has already dismissed these rumors. You will not spread panic with sensor glitches. Recalibrate and report back in 6 hours. Council operations out." The channel went dead. Nexor stared at his screens in disbelief. The signals were growing stronger by the minute, spreading like a web across the dead sector. This wasn't a glitch. This was an awakening. He made a decision that would haunt or vindicate him. He copied all the data to a secure module and set course for the nearest independent station. If the Council wouldn't listen, perhaps someone else would. On Station Erebus, Kira and Marcus stood hand in hand as klaxons began to sound. Around them, the hidden station came alive. Lights flickered on in sections that had remained dark for decades. In massive hangar bays, ships that had been maintained in secret for generations began their launch sequences. "All personnel to stations," a voice echoed through the corridors. "This is not a drill. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. All personnel to stations." Marcus pulled Kira close one last time. "Go show them what we became." "We show them," she corrected, kissing him quickly. Together, they separated, each running to their assigned posts. Kira reached the communications hub, where hundreds of officers were already at their stations. The massive screens showed the sector map, and on it, green lights were beginning to bloom like flowers in spring. Each light was a human ship. Each light was a promise kept. Each light was a voice that had been silent for 300 years, now ready to speak. Commander Thorne's voice came through on all channels, steady and strong. "All vessels, this is actual. Begin Phase 1 transmission. Let's remind them we exist." Kira's fingers flew across her console, initiating the sequence she'd practiced 1,000 times. Across dozens of hidden stations, relay points, and dormant satellites, the human frequency began to pulse. The galaxy was about to remember. The first strike, the void rippled like disturbed water. Space itself seemed to fold. And from the distortion emerged a ship that defied every expectation the galaxy had held about human engineering. The warship Vengeance's shadow slid into real space with the grace of a predator entering a clearing. Its hull was black as the void itself, angular and sharp, covered in lines of pulsing green light that traced patterns across its armor. It was larger than the old human cruisers by half, and every centimeter of it spoke of purpose. On the bridge, Commander Jace Reeves stood at the command platform, his silver hair catching the green glow from the tactical displays. 20 years he'd trained for this moment, 20 years preparing for the day humanity would stop hiding. Tactical, what do we have? His voice was calm, almost casual. Ensign Nina Torres worked her console with practiced efficiency. At 26, she was young for her position, but she'd been born on Erebus, trained from childhood in the arts of war her grandparents had perfected. Alien fleet, sir. 37 vessels, mix of cruisers and destroyers. Council markings. They're positioning to intercept. They spotted us fast. We wanted them to, sir. Nina allowed herself a small smile. Stealth systems are offline. We're broadcasting on all frequencies. They definitely see us. Through the viewport, the alien fleet was visible now, their ships forming up in standard attack formation. Jace recognized the patterns from archived battles. The galaxy had grown comfortable, predictable. They'd forgotten what it meant to face an adaptive enemy. Communications from the alien flagship, sir, another officer reported. They're laughing. Audio only. Jace exchanged a glance with Nina. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was dripping with mockery. One ship. After centuries of silence, this is humanity's grand return. One pathetic vessel. The alien captain's laughter was joined by his bridge crew. Surrender now and we might let you live to explain where your people have been hiding. Jace nodded to his communications officer. No response. Let our ship speak for us. Nina's console lit up with targeting solutions. Sir, they're powering weapons. Multiple lock-ons. They're actually going to fire first. Good, Jace said quietly. Let them, the alien fleet fired in unison. Blue energy beams lanced across the void, converging on Vengeance's shadow like the fingers of an angry god. The impact lit up space, the bridge viewports automatically dimming to protect the crew from the glare. When the light faded, Jace's ship remained, untouched. Nina checked her readings, excitement creeping into her voice. Shields at 98%. The new composite armor didn't even register the impacts. Sir, they might as well be throwing rocks at us. Through the tactical feed, they could see the confusion spreading through the alien fleet. Ships broke formation, regrouping for a second volley. Jace watched, counting seconds. Nina broadcast the old code. Let them hear it. She nodded, her fingers dancing across the console. Through space, carried on frequencies the galaxy hadn't heard in 3 centuries, a signal pulsed. It was simple, rhythmic, unmistakable. The heartbeat of humanity. The alien fleet attacked again. Torpedoes joined the energy beams. Plasma bursts that could crack planets rained down on the lone human ship. The void became a storm of fire and fury. Vengeance's shadow endured it all. Shields at 91%, Nina reported. Minor fluctuations in the forward array, compensating. Sir, we could sit here all day. Jace watched the tactical display. The alien ships were growing desperate now, breaking formation entirely, each one emptying its weapons in a frenzy. He remembered his training, the lessons passed down from the commanders who had fought the last wars. Humanity had been strong then, but strength without discipline was just noise. Enough, he said quietly. Nina, weapons free, precision strikes only. Disable, not destroy. Let's show them the difference between revenge and justice. Nina's hands moved with the precision of a surgeon. Targeting solutions locked, engaging. The Vengeance's shadow came alive. Cannons emerged from hidden ports, their barrels glowing with contained energy. Green fire lanced out, each beam finding its target with mathematical perfection. The first alien cruiser lost its engine section, the precise strike leaving the rest of the ship intact but powerless. The second lost its weapons array. The third began to spin as its stabilizers were surgically removed. They're breaking, Nina reported, her voice tight with focus. Half the fleet is attempting to retreat. Jace's expression didn't change. Let them run. Let them carry the message. But any ship that continues to fire gets disabled. We're not murderers. For 20 minutes, the battle continued. It wasn't a battle in the traditional sense. It was a demonstration. Each alien ship that fired found itself answered with a response so precise, so calculated, that it was clear the humans were holding back. When the alien flagship finally went dark, its weapon systems reduced to molten slag, the remaining ships fled into hyperspace. Silence returned to the void. Vengeance's shadow floated among the disabled vessels, its hull unmarked, its systems barely taxed. Nina exhaled slowly, releasing tension she didn't know she'd been holding. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from the disabled ships. They're requesting assistance. Broadcast our rescue protocols to them," Jace ordered. "And Nina, transmit everything that just happened. Every sensor log, every tactical recording. I want the galaxy to see this clearly. 1 ship, 37 opponents. Not a single human casualty." As the data began streaming across every channel, Jace allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. This had been the easy part. The real test was yet to come. "Helm, take us to Rally Point Omega. It's time to show them this wasn't an isolated incident." He looked at Nina, seeing in her face the same determination he felt. "It's time to show them the Armada." The Armada awakens. The command deck of the dreadnought Eternal Resolve was a cathedral of war. Holographic displays floated like constellations, each one showing a different piece of humanity's rebirth. Admiral Helena Cross stood at the center of it all, her dark eyes reflecting the tactical data that surrounded her. She was 53, born on Mars in the last days before the withdrawal. She'd been 5 years old when her parents had taken her into hiding, when humanity had made the hardest decision in its history, to vanish rather than be destroyed. Now, after 48 years of preparation, the time for hiding had ended. "Admiral, all fleet elements reporting ready status," her executive officer announced. "Station Erebus, Haven's Rest, New Covenant, and all 17 satellite yards have launched their complements. We're showing 4,612 vessels across all classes." Helena nodded slowly, letting the magnitude of that number sink in. Nearly 5,000 ships, built in secret, maintained in silence, crewed by generations who had never known open skies. It was the largest human fleet in history, and the galaxy didn't even know it existed. Yet. The bridge doors opened, and Helena turned to see 2 figures entering. Lieutenant Kira Valdez moved with military precision, but her hand was firmly clasped in that of Dr. Marcus Webb, who looked slightly uncomfortable in his borrowed uniform. "Lieutenant Valdez reporting as ordered, ma'am," Kira said, snapping a salute. "Dr. Webb has requested permission to observe from the command deck." Helena's stern expression softened slightly. She knew their story. In a fleet of thousands, word traveled. "Permission granted, Doctor. Though I'm surprised you're not in the science section." Marcus smiled nervously. "With respect, Admiral, I helped design the ships. I want to see them work from here." He squeezed Kira's hand. "Besides, someone told me the best view was on the bridge. Practical and romantic," Helena observed. "Kira, take your station." "Doctor, stay out of the way and try not to distract my communications officer." As Kira moved to her console, Marcus following close behind, Helena returned her attention to the displays. The entire human armada was spread across 3 light years, positioned in formations that had been planned decades ago. Now they would execute the maneuver that would change everything. "Begin Phase 2, Helena commanded. "Full armada synchronized emergence. Let's show them what they forgot." In the alien sectors nearby, life continued in blissful ignorance. On the colony world of Turtax Prime, citizens went about their evening routines. On the trade station crossroads, merchants haggled over prices. In the Council's military headquarters, Admiral Drexen pored over reports of the lone human ship, dismissing it as an anomaly. Then the sky changed. On Turtax Prime, a child pointed upward. Her mother looked and gasped. In the space above their world, stars were disappearing. Not fading, not moving, disappearing, blocked by something massive. On crossroads, alarms began to sound. Station sensors designed to detect approaching ships were overloading. There were too many contacts, hundreds, thousands. In the Council headquarters, every display suddenly showed the same thing, a map of the surrounding sectors, now filled with green indicators. Each one was a human vessel. Drexen stared in disbelief. "That's impossible. There are thousands of them." "Where did they come from?" His aide's voice trembled. "Sir, they're everywhere. They've appeared simultaneously across 40 sectors. It's a coordinated emergence. Sir, this is an invasion force, but on the Eternal Resolve, Helena's orders were precise. All vessels hold position. Weapons powered but not armed. We're not here to conquer. We're here to be seen. Kira worked her console, routing communications from across the Armada. Beside her, Marcus watched in awe as the reports came in. They're calling them beautiful, he whispered. Listen. Through the chatter, alien voices filled the channels. The formations, they're perfect. How are they moving as one? I've never seen anything like this. Are they attacking? No, they're just there, like they appeared just to show us they could. Helena's second-in-command approached. Admiral, we're receiving thousands of hails. Diplomatic channels, military frequencies, civilian broadcasts. Everyone wants to talk to us. Let them wait, Helena said. Let them look. Let them understand what silence built. On the council station, Scholar Vena stood at her window, tears streaming down her aged face. The human armada stretched across the visible sky like a new constellation. She had been right. The ghosts had returned, and they were magnificent. Drexen stood beside his command console, his earlier arrogance gone. How many? He whispered to himself. How many did we miss? The answer appeared on his screen as human ships continued to emerge. 5,000, 6,000. The numbers kept climbing. On the Eternal Resolve, Marcus moved behind Kira's station, resting his hands gently on her shoulders. You helped plan this, he said softly. All those nights running communications drills. This is yours too. Kira reached up to touch his hand. It's ours, all of us. Every human who refused to give up. Every parent who taught their children about Earth. Every engineer who maintained ships in the dark. This moment belongs to all of us. Helena's voice cut through the bridge. Commander Reeves reports the Vengeance's shadow has taken position in the vanguard. The forward fleet is assembled. The tactical display shifted, showing the massive human formation. At the front, smaller warships like deadly arrows. Behind them, cruisers and carriers forming layers of strength. And at the heart, the dreadnoughts. 15 massive vessels that each carried the population of a small city. Open a channel, Helena ordered. Galaxy-wide broadcast. Let everyone hear this. Kira's fingers flew across her console. Channel open, Admiral. You're transmitting to every inhabited system within 200 light years. Helena took a breath. This was the moment. The words she spoke now would echo through history. We are humanity. We did not die. We endured. The silent victory, the Council's war fleet gathered like a storm. From every corner of their territories, ships converged on the coordinates where the human armada waited. Admiral Drexen, his pride wounded beyond measure, commanded the largest military force the Council had ever assembled. They mock us by simply existing, he hissed to his officers. Thousands of ships built in secret while we believed them extinct. This ends today. We will sweep them from the stars and ensure they never deceive us again. 10,000 Council vessels formed a crescent that stretched across space. Dreadnoughts from the reptilian empires, carrier swarms from the insectoid collectives, and sleek destroyers from the avian fleets. Together, they represented the combined might of 40 species. On the Eternal Resolve, Helena watched the enemy formation take shape. Her fleet remained perfectly still, a wall of green-lit steel that refused to flinch. They outnumber us 2-1, her tactical officer reported. Then the odds are almost fair. Helena replied calmly, all ships, battle protocols active. Remember your training. We are not here to conquer. We are here to remind them why they should never forget us. Kira's console lit up with incoming communications. Marcus stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder, offering silent support. Admiral, we're receiving a message from Scholar Vena. She's requesting permission to broadcast a warning to the Council fleet. Helena considered for a moment. Granted. Let her speak. Vena's aged voice filled every channel. Council fleet, this is Scholar Vena. I beg you, withdraw. You face an enemy that has spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. They are not the humans you remember. They are what silence and determination created. Please do not force this battle. Drexen's response was immediate and filled with rage. Silence, old one. Today we correct the mistake of allowing any human to survive. All ships, open fire! The Council fleet unleashed hell itself. Energy beams in every color imaginable lanced across the void. Torpedoes streaked like meteors. The combined firepower of 10,000 ships converged on the human lines. The explosion was blinding. Space itself seemed to scream. On Turtak's prime below, millions watched in horror. Citizens had evacuated to shelters, but many remained glued to their screens. A mother held her child close. "Are the humans dying?" the child asked. "I don't know, sweetheart. I don't know." The fire cleared. The human armada remained, shields glowing brilliant green, formations unbroken. Helena's voice was ice. "All ships, return fire. Demonstrate precision." What followed was not a battle. It was a lesson in warfare. The human fleet moved as a single organism. Frigates darted between enemy lines, their weapons finding engine blocks and weapon systems with surgical accuracy. Cruisers formed defensive screens, protecting damaged vessels while maintaining overwhelming offensive fire. The carriers released waves of fighters that moved in patterns so complex they seemed choreographed. And the dreadnoughts. The massive ships advanced slowly, their main cannons charging with power that made space itself ripple. When they fired, entire council battle groups simply ceased to exist. Kira coordinated communications across the fleet, her training allowing her to process hundreds of channels simultaneously. Marcus watched her work, marveling at the woman he loved. "You're incredible," he whispered during a brief lull. She spared him a quick smile. "Tell me that after we survive this. I'll tell you every day for the rest of our lives." The council fleet began to fracture. Ships that had advanced with confidence now fled in terror. Drexen screamed orders, but his fleet was too panicked to listen. In desperation, he ordered his flagship to ram the nearest human dreadnought. The massive reptilian warship accelerated, its remaining weapons blazing. It was 3 times the size of any human vessel, a mountain of metal and rage. Commander Reeves, commanding the vanguard, watched it approach. "Target their bridge. End this mercifully." A single green beam, precise as a scalpel, struck the flagship's command center. The ship went dark instantly, drifting past the human lines like a monument to arrogance. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 8,000 council vessels were disabled or destroyed. The human fleet had lost 12 ships, and even those crews had been largely evacuated. Helena stood on her bridge, surrounded by her officers, by Kira and Marcus, by the generation that had rebuilt humanity. "Cease fire. All ships, defensive posture. Open channels for rescue operations." Across the battlefield, human ships began assisting their defeated enemies, pulling survivors from wrecked vessels, providing medical aid, sharing supplies. On Turtak's prime, the mother and child watched in amazement. "They're saving them," the child whispered. "The humans are saving the ones who attacked them." Helena's voice broadcast across every channel in the galaxy, calm and clear. "We did not return for conquest. We returned because we earned our place among the stars. You tried to erase us from history, but you cannot erase what refuses to die. We offer peace, but we will never again be dismissed. We will never again be forgotten. Remember us." In the council chamber, the remaining leaders sat in stunned silence. Scholar Vena addressed them, her voice carrying the weight of vindication. "The laughter of yesterday has become the respect of today, and tomorrow we will build something new, a galaxy where no species is underestimated, where silence is recognized as strength, not weakness." On the eternal resolve, as the human armada began its slow withdrawal, Marcus pulled Kira away from her console. In a quiet corner of the bridge, with humanity's victory spreading across the stars, he kissed her deeply. "We did it," he whispered against her lips. We showed them who we became," Kira corrected, her eyes bright with tears of joy. "And now we get to build what comes next. Together." Helena watched them from across the bridge and allowed herself a rare smile. Around her, officers celebrated quietly, professionally, but with genuine joy. They had not just won a battle. They had reclaimed their heritage. Far across the galaxy, on hidden stations and secret colonies, human children who had grown up in shadow now looked at the stars with hope. Their parents told them stories of the day humanity stopped hiding, of the day the galaxy learned respect, and in every corner of known space, from the smallest outpost to the grandest council chamber, those 5 words echoed like a promise that would never fade. "We are here. Remember us." The age of humanity's silence had ended. The age of their voice had just begun.